Hello friends, welcome to Insights Icon Initiative. In today's video, we are going to discuss about floor test related to Jharkhand politics. Now let's see video components. In this video, first we'll try to understand what is the context, why we are discussing this news in today's video. Then we'll check the 1989 Lok Sabha election. I'll give this result as a to explain the floor test, because in this particular result, no party got the more than 50% of the seats. So what will happen if no party gets such kind of simple majority? Then Jharkhand floor test, that means context related to Jharkhand floor test. What is the meaning of floor test? And what are the constitutional provisions related to floor test? And SR Bommai case 1994, what are the Supreme Court guidelines related to this case? How can the governor call for a floor test? Can governor use the discretionary power or not? That we will discuss. And finally, so Nabam Rebia case, very popular one related to this floor test and governor executive powers. After that, obviously you know that we will end the video with MCQ questions. Now, so first we will try to understand this context. Okay, first the context is, this particular context is related to Champai Soren, the present chief minister of Jharkhand. He wins trust vote after getting 47 votes in the 81 member assembly. So now tell me students, trust vote, it occurs in which house? Okay, in the state level, it will be in the upper house or lower house or any house. So which house the floor test will be conducted? In Lok Sabha, in parliament also, in which house the floor test will be conducted? So floor test is all about government has to show the majority. Okay, that is about the floor test. So first, so for a better understanding about the floor test, I have to tell you, in India we follow the parliamentary form of government. Okay, so in the parliamentary form of government, in parliamentary form of government, council of ministers are collectively responsible to lower house. Collectively responsible to lower house. Okay, then if there are conditions where if governor gets an evidence that the government is not having the proper majority. Majority means what? Majority means council of ministers, they should always enjoy the support of more than 50% of lower house. More than 50% of lower house majority should be there to council of ministers. How we can know? We can know by going for the floor test. That is what the floor test. So that means floor test is all about government strength. Floor test is all about government strength. That is what you have to remember. Now, floor test can be requested from two sides. Floor test can be requested from opposition side, or floor test can be initiated from government side. If the floor test comes from the opposition side, if it comes from the opposition, if opposition parties are demanding the floor test, then that is called as no confidence motion. No confidence motion. That is known as no confidence motion. If government itself, on the request of governor or on its own, if they took the initiative, that means if the government took the initiative, then that is known as motion of confidence. Motion of confidence. Very, very important. Now, if the government need to continue, then what it has to do? It has to defeat the no confidence motion, or it has to win the motion of confidence. Now regarding the Champai, okay, so regarding the Champai Soren case, they wins the motion of confidence. That means how we got the conclusion that he wins the motion of confidence? He got more than 50% of the MLA support. Out of 81 members assembly, when you are getting 47 votes means, that means obviously you are getting more than 50% of the support. That here we have to understand. In case, okay, so Jharkhand assembly strength is 81, 81. So obviously more than 50% means you require the 42 MLAs. In case, for example, if 10 MLAs or 15 MLAs are absent, then the strength will be lower down. For example, due to some conditions, 10 members absent. 10 members absent. 10 members absent means then the strength will be fall to 71. Then 36 requires. 36 required. That means opposition party sometimes they may they may encourage the ruling party MLAs not to attend the floor test. By that, they can come to the power. Okay, this was happened in the Karnataka as well. Now that is the reason Jharkhand MLAs, this like Congress as well as the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha MLAs, all those MLAs, they were sent into camps so that no MLA will absent on that particular day. Now I hope you understood. In the floor test, government strength will be tested. It can be the initiative from opposition or it can be on the initiative of government. And floor test is the principle which involves, like in the parliamentary form of government, Council of Ministers are always responsible to lower house. Based on that, we conduct the floor test. So here 47 MLAs, they voted in favor of the incumbent government and 29 MLAs, they stood against the trust motion. Actually, why this floor test conducted? Here you have to understand, recently Jharkhand Chief Minister, erstwhile Chief Minister, Champai Soren, he was arrested by ED. After he was arrested, then the party appointed Champai Soren as a Chief Minister and he took the Chief Minister oath. So this is the kind of political crisis in the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha, and the opposition party, that means BJP party, they sensed this kind of crisis and they want to test the majority. Okay, so might be like if the Jharkhand Mukti Morcha and Congress, if they are not flocked together, then obviously BJP would have get a chance to form a government. So there is nothing wrong in opposition party asking for the no confidence motion. Okay, even the arrested Jharkhand, former Jharkhand Chief Minister Champai Soren also attended the floor test because he was not convicted one. You have to remember, he was only arrested. Arrested is different from convicted. Okay, if someone is proven guilty, then that person is known as convicted. The term floor test. Floor test is also known as test of the majority. If there are any doubts against the Council of Ministers' strength, then the Council of Ministers, they will be asked to prove their majority in the House by the governor. If it is a coalition government, then CM will be asked to move vote of confidence and win the majority. For example, here, this was a 1989 Lok Sabha election. Normally in the Lok Sabha, what is the magic figure out of the 545? The magic figure is 273. Here no party gets 273. That means no one got magic figure. In this case, normally the single largest party will be invited to form the government. Okay, once they form the government, then they will be asked to prove their majority. That is motion of confidence. Here, of course, Congress, they say they were not ready to form the government. Janata Dal, they came forward to form the government. They supported with Bharatiya Janata Party, BJP, from one end as well as communist from the another end. This was a peculiar government, the government which supported by both BJP, right wing as well as the communist left wing simultaneously. That government was led by VP Singh. During his time only Mandal Commission recommendations were appointed. So here what I am trying to explain, I am trying to explain that the coalition government, whenever coalition government forms, that means when 2 or 3 party come together and form the government, okay, they have to show their majority. Through what? Through floor test. They have to show their majority through floor test. This is about what I am talking about, post-poll alliance. If this alliance is pre-poll alliance and the entire alliance, if they got more than magic figure, they don't need to go for the floor test. That is also you have to understand. This is applicable only to the post-poll alliance. Then who call for the floor test? If the assembly in session, then speaker calls for the floor test. If the assembly not in session, then governor will call for the floor test. Okay, coalition government. So if there is more than one individual, they would like to form the government. In the previous example, if Congress like to form the government and Janata Dal also like to form the government, then means everyone will given the chance. Whoever successfully proves their majority, that means more than 50% support, they will continue to form the government. Next, if any members absent to the trust vote, they will not be considered. Only the members present and voter, they will be considered in the floor test calculation. It is a constitutional mechanism which present in Article 164. So under which CM is appointed by the governor and the governor can ask the CM to prove the majority, especially if the governor thinks that the government is not having the full absolute majority. Fail in the floor test. In case if the chief minister fails in the floor test, then obviously they have to resign. If the chief minister resigns, means then all the ministers are deemed to be resigned. When the house is in session, speaker will call for the floor test. When if the house is not in session, then governor may call for the floor test according to article 163. Here you have to remember, for calling the floor test, can governor use the discretionary powers or not? That is the main question. So here governor calls for the floor test. Governor calls for the floor test, okay, floor test following condition, okay. Number 1, when government requests like to show their strength, especially in the post poll alliance. Second one, when opposition demands, and governor also, he himself also can call for the floor test when primary evidences suggesting lack of majority in any case. But here you have to remember, within the party, if two groups are fighting against each other, one group they are approaching towards governor and requesting for the floor test, that is absolutely unwarranted. That is what Supreme Court said in the case of Maharashtra. In the case of Maharashtra, what happened? Within the Shiva Sena, Eknath Shinde faction, they fought with the other faction, that means Uddhav Thackeray faction, and this faction they approached to the governor and they requested the governor for the floor test, and governor called for the floor test. That was a mistake according to Supreme Court, because within the fighting within the party, it cannot be a ground to call for the floor test. Okay. So now in SR Bommai case, for certain guidelines issued by the Supreme Court, the majority of the Council of Ministers, it can be tested only in the floor test, not in other way around. How can a governor call for the floor test? That means constitutional provisions. Article 174, it authorizes the governor to summon, dissolve, as well as prorogue the assembly. You know that in the state level, governor will do these functions. In the central level, president will do. Article 174, clause 2, subclause B, it says that governor can dissolve the assembly on the aid and advice of the cabinet. Okay, and sometimes if this cabinet is not enjoying the majority, then governor may not follow the cabinet request as well. That is what happened in the case of Uddhav Thackeray government. When Uddhav Thackeray government, when they lost the majority, even governor also not bound to follow the advice given by the Uddhav Thackeray government. That is the reason, as soon as he know that he lost the majority, so he resigned immediately. Article 175, clause 2, governor can summon the house and can call for the floor test to prove the majority of the government. Okay. So governor acts only on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers and normally, but sometimes when governor think that there are primary evidences that the governor is lost the majority, then governor himself can call for the floor test. Now we will see very popular landmark judgment, Nabam Rebia and Bamang Felix versus Deputy Speaker case. In this case, Supreme Court observed that the power of summoning the house, it can be done by the governor only on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers and not on his own. That means if governor want to summon the house, it can be done only according to the Council of Ministers advice. And because governor is only the nominated one, governor is not the elected one. Governor cannot call the elected people to come and attend the session whenever he want. That is what the Supreme Court clarified. 2020, Shivraj Singh Chauhan versus Speaker and others versus Speaker, Madhya Pradesh. Here, Supreme Court supported that Speaker can call for a floor test if there is a primary evidence that government lost its majority. For example, imagine the government formed, in Bihar, now in future Bihar government I am talking about, government formed with Nitish Kumar and BJP. If BJP announced that they are not supporting Nitish Kumar, then obviously there is clear-cut evidence that Nitish Kumar on his own, he don't have the majority, then governor can call for the floor test. If there is a substantial evidences are there, then governor without taking the advice of Council of Ministers can call for the floor test. Supreme Court said that governor must usually equally conscious of the fact that calling a trust vote itself is a circumstances which may lead to toppling of government. So generally when someone is calling for the trust vote, there is a chance that government may collapse. So governor should not use this weapon. Governor should exercise this one with very cautiously. Governor should not enter into any area where it may lead to government fail, because generally governor, as a safeguard of constitution, he should never allow the situations which leading to failure of the government or collapsing of the government. So the threat to security cannot be a ground for calling a trust vote. Trust vote can be called only in few situations. I explained that. Yesterday's MCQ. Which of the following adds nitrogen to the soil? So excretion of urea by animals, then death of vegetation. Burning of coal by man, it don't add any nitrogen. So answer is C. With reference to K-shaped recovery, then consider the following statement. It occurs when both parts of the economy recovers at different rates after a recession. Okay, this one, both parts recover. It is generally caused by disparities that existed before the recession. Okay, disparities. Yes. Where is the Hazrat Nizamuddin Auliya Dargah? Recently news located near to Delhi. Now let's see today's video question. Today's video. In case of death of sitting governor, who among the following will discharge the functions of the governor of the state? In case governor dies, who will perform the functions? Mains question. Discuss the essential conditions for exercise of the legislative powers by the governor. Discuss the legality of re-promulgation of ordinance by the governor, without placing them before the legislature. So if governor keep on issuing the ordinance, then what is the legality about that? Comment on that. This is the mains question. Now, as we reach to the end of this video, in this particular video, we discussed about Jharkhand floor test and what is the floor test, what is the role of the floor test in the parliamentary form of government, who can call for the floor test, and what are the outcomes of the floor test, constitutional provisions related to floor test, and Supreme Court judgment related to floor test. So this is the detailed analysis regarding the Jharkhand floor test and the concept of floor test. Thanks for watching our video. Have a great day. Jai Hind.